Now, I would like to shift the conversation a little bit towards Gen Z. Gen Z is the generation that is growing, is becoming influential all over the world. They want to make a difference, and they have some characteristics that we didn't see in the millennials, my generation, your generation. What would you say to a Gen Z, a young adult who is seeking honesty, fairness, justice for all in a world that is deeply unjust, in a church that doesn't listen to them, yet they feel like they have a mission in this world? What would you say to the Gen Zs? I'm asking this question simply because I know that I have a little audience of Gen Zs.
Yeah, well, I'd have to say, just looking at me, I'm not an expert on Gen Z, but I did have the opportunity. We did a family heritage trip last month, in which we went to Germany and Poland and visited the places where my parents grew up. And my brother was along on that. He's 5 years older than me. And he brought along his daughter and two granddaughters. And the granddaughters are 23 and 25.
Yes.
And so that was a immersion in Gen Z and stuff like that. And they're delightful. They're absolutely delightful, and they're so forgiving. You can have a conversation that's really, I don't agree with that at all and stuff like that. But it doesn't, they shake it off and they don't, carry a grudge and stuff. They were just delightful. And so we had the opportunity to learn a little bit about that. But I would say again, the core principle is listen first before you talk, and try to connect with areas of strength in what you see. Gen Z is the first generation in human history that doesn't know the world without smartphones.
Yes.
Smartphones came in around 2010, I think, and Jonathan Haidt, one of the best sociological thinkers in the world today, has written a book called The Anxious Generation, and totaled up all the challenges that come when people spend a lot of time on the phone. And this is a generation that sees the world in a way none of us can, because every other generation that's alive today has known the world without smartphones and grew up in a world without smartphones. So their experience has put them in a place that no other generation has been in. And I think that has some serious weaknesses, as Hyde points out in his book. He won't let his kids get a smartphone, I think, until the age of 16, is what he was saying. He says the way it rewires your brain can do a lot of damage. But at the same time, the reality is most kids, got into it in the single digits already. My daughter's not allowing her 11 and 9-year-olds to have a smartphone, but still, when it comes to computer games or anything, they'll teach you how to, if you bought a scale and you don't know how to get it set up properly, they'll just kind of, and in about 13 seconds, they do what you couldn't do in 13 hours.
Yes.
It's amazing the skills that they have. So we can learn from them and they can learn from us, but we have to develop a relationship to where we have the credibility to share, I think.
Yes, one of my recent passions is how to share Jesus to them.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that doesn't make it weird. One idea that I've got was to try to pull them out of the the social media thinking. Social media thinking is, I see a short video, I read a quote that is most of the time taken out of context. And one of my strategies is to give context to them, to get to know the Jesus Christ I know. And I don't profess that I am at stage 6 right now. I believe I'm still in the middle of stage 5. I am experiencing my own dark night of the soul. I don't think I've made it to the other end yet. But I am at the point where I do understand myself and where I am. And the question that I would like to ask you is, it is normal to be aware that you are going through the dark night of the soul, and towards the end of that period, to actually be very conscious of what's going on and what's happening to you.
Yeah, I would actually say not necessarily.
Okay.
And I've always been a little bit leery about trying to place myself in the stages of faith. I think it's a very important big picture. Wherever you are right now, I think understanding that can help you get a sense of what's happening in your life and what God would like to see happen, etc. But I've always been reluctant to explore my personal stages of faith. My wife points out to me, well, if you're stage 5, then you're proud that, you're way ahead of everybody else and so on. And it's kind of like, I don't want to think too much about it because I don't want to undo the very thing that God is trying to do in me. But your request that I think about my own dark night of the soul, it kind of threw me for a bit of a loop, and I thought I need to think about this, etc. And it's been a very productive thing. So I trust we'll get to talk about that at some point. You see, I'm not a depressive person, nature. The only time I feel depressed is like at 4:30 in the morning when the whole system is down, and when I get up and the sun comes up and so life is good on my way. So that's I'm grateful for that. So in a sense, without thinking a lot about it, I'm not even sure I had a dark night of the soul, because I tend to compensate and find the silver lining in the cloud and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But you're raising that question has really thrown me for a loop and to evaluate my whole life in a way I hadn't done before. So hope to get to share that with you in the future.
Absolutely. Well, not in the future, probably in the next section, in the next episode, if that's okay with you. Yeah. Because I had some feelings that I used the dark night of the soul as an excuse to myself, to my own struggles, to my behavior, to my feelings towards others. And I felt a little bit guilty. I said, no, that can't be. If it would be a real dark night of the soul, you would not think like that. You would not use this as an excuse for things that are happening around you. But I do believe that these two situations, they can coexist. You are in the dark night of the soul, you are conscious about it, and you realize that it's not depression. It could be a little bit of it. The chemical balance in the brain can be adjusted through medication, and that might help the process. So what would you say is the overlap between depression and the dark night of the soul? Is there one? They are totally separate, or how would you describe these two states?
My offhand response would be that's an individual thing.
Mm-hmm.
One can it can be totally a God thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think of the Book of Exodus. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is studying the Book of Exodus right now, and there's several places in the Book of Exodus where God leads them into a trap.
Mm-hmm.
The cloud is leading them. That's God leading them, and then they leave the delta in Egypt, and they go straight to a place where you've got the sea on one side, you got a mountain wall. In other words, they're funneled into a place where the mountain comes to the sea. I've been to that place; it's still there. The mountain comes to the sea, and you can't go on.
Mm-hmm.
At least not a large group like that. There's some billy goats in the crowd could probably make their way up. But so they're trapped. The Egyptians are behind them, the sea on one side, the mountain on it. God led them into that place. So God can lead us into dark nights and so on because it's part of the learning and growing process. Sometimes people are deeply depressed for chemical reasons
Mm-hmm.
and for experiential reasons that have nothing to do with the spiritual walk. Probably most often the two are blended, and that God uses the dark experiences that we have to grow us spiritually. God doesn't want us to suffer. God loves giving good gifts to his children. At least that's how I understand God when I see the way Jesus treated people, etc. But like any parent, that sometimes leads their children into difficult experiences so that they can learn and grow. Challenges them to go out there and try something. Like the mother pushing the little one out of the nest, the little bird out of the nest. It's the only way they can learn to fly. So yes, sometimes God does initiate unpleasant experiences as part of the growth process. I think most of the time it's a blend of the two, and what it is in your personal experience might be unique.
Well, thank you so much. Let's wrap this section here. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about as much as you can about your own experience. I will share some of my own, and maybe we can get into the paradox of going to the dark night of the soul, a very painful experience, coming out of it in the unconditional love state. And instead of feeling big and mighty and a warrior, you feel humble, and your greatest weapon is love. So it doesn't match the world we live in, even in a church context. But I'm sure that we will get to that, and you will help us understand better what unconditional love means. Thank you for being with us. See you in the next one.
Thank you.